Good evening. What is going on? Welcome to the Safe House Podcast. I'm Mitchell Harper. I'm here with the producer extraordinaire, the one and only Patrick English.
Never
What up,
lost.
English? What up, English?
I'm good. Never lost. Look. It's just us for a minute.
It's just us for a minute, and that's okay. Uh, we want to welcome y'all. Thank y'all for joining us this evening. It's Wednesday. It's 6:30, which means it's the Safe House Podcast. We're glad to be with y'all. What's up, Miss Patty? Glad to have you on with us. Yeah, it's the Safe House. We're here every Wednesday, 6:30
Ish.
ish. Uh, every Sunday, we're at Clare United Methodist Church, 10 o'clock. 293 East Barthman Avenue on the south side. Um, I was watching service just last night. Y'all got a whole bunch of stuff coming up and going on. So
I don't know nothing about nothing, brother. I just be in the back.
I know, I
Except
know.
except this Sunday. Apparently they made me go up front.
It made you go front. I saw that. Yeah.
It's disrespectful.
Hey man, when you do good work, it's okay to get a little recognition from time to time. That's not why we do it, but
I'm gonna do a face and look like I froze on the screen like I just did. I'm just gonna say,
stalling. Uh,
see how everybody gonna react.
but
So as of today, I don't even know exactly the subject matter because yeah, he left us. So we just gonna just do what we do when we do what we do.
nah, man, it's episode 88. And we're gonna have like a little just round table discussion. We hope that y'all will join in with us in the chat. But before we get started on that, I am going to actually will you open us up with prayer, or do I need to do that, Patrick? Oh, I'll do it. It's okay.
Wait. Let me do this right. Let me do.
You just turn your whole screen off. Like my internet went out.
Yeah,
No, I'll pray. That's okay.
there you go.
Dear God, thank you for another day. Thank you for um, just this life that you have blessed each and every one of us with. Just the opportunity to wake up, put our feet on the floor, is just an opportunity to to worship you and to celebrate you and to find the ways that we can to serve you. So we just ask that you be with us as we try to fulfill your will, Father God. And as we join into this discussion today, help us to just uh, be constructive, be productive, but to enjoy this community that we've been able to build together. Um, and just have us continue to focus on you as we engage in this conversation. And it's in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Likewise, amen.
All right. So before we get into this, I'm going to just ask you a quick question, real quick, Patrick. Y'all did something cool with your kids, with some of your kids this past Sunday. Um, can you tell me about this Ubuntu house thing?
I have zero idea, brother. I
You
am not the one.
you killing me. You killing me. You're like, this is why I stay behind the camera. This is
Look, man, y'all give me the info. I just pass it along, brother. I am the worst telephone in the world. Um, yo, he's whatever it is, he's excited about it. I'm here to learn more about what he got to learn about. Um, get him involved with some things with the church, with the Ubuntu.
well, the
When I
church is
first
supposed to be a proving ground. It's supposed to be a place where you can, you know, get your
you're right.
chops and be introduced to different things and learn how to. One time, I remember John Legend said one time, he was like, the church used to be a place where we would learn to practice our craft, and now the kids ain't going to church, so the kids can't sing, the kids can't play the piano, the kids can't read, the kids can't play the drums. So
I
Um,
mean, that goes into a lot of other factors of why kids can't do a lot of
for
things.
sure, for sure. But it's the church. I'm glad that Claire is creating a space for the young folks to figure some stuff. We were just talking about the Ubuntu house,
I you
Pastor
see,
Charles. So,
when I first heard about the Ubuntu house, I almost called it Umbaku.
Oh Lord,
Or you know who I'm
like I
saying.
said, the kids can't read. That's
man.
My bad.
My fire. Okay.
Eh, he know.
Yep. So, what's up, people? It's Pastor Ferguson. I'm up and moving. Um, kind of the whole thing about caretaking. Sometimes you got to do some stuff. Excuse me. Whew, and, and get some things going. Um, Mitchell, thank you for starting us off.
He
Um,
tried.
I mean, he acted nervous. I heard him. He was acting nervous, but
Voice was cracking.
sounded like Jamie Foxx trying to sing the Toys R Us kid theme song.
I was thinking more Dave Chappelle from Nutty Professor.
Uh,
Reggie. Never mind.
so um, I'm excited about all the things that are happening at the church. I kind of posted about it. It's one of those things where it's like, Sunday was a good pastor Sunday. I'll say it like that. Um, I got to do something I never thought I'd get a chance to do, and here we are. And so, um, those that are online, and Bluetooth House is a rites of passage program. We're gonna be teaching these kids about self and how God really created them uniquely and strengthening that conviction. Um, we're going to be reading. We're going to have projects. We're going to have all kind of different things. So I'm excited about what's on the horizon for that. There are still spaces for some. I know there are some that are trying to get on, and usually it happens where some folk got to see certain things and be like, oh, they're trying to be like, oh, I'm like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
usually how it goes. But it's okay because once you see how certain things start off, you'll be like, oh, this got to be interesting. So it's cool, and we're gonna do what we got to do. We're gonna reach who we got to reach and do the best we can with what we got. So, uh, and the interesting thing is, y'all, is that out of Sunday comes this um, kind of roundtable discussion, and I need people to share and comment in the chat. The reason I need this tonight is because some of y'all that watch us on a regular basis, some of y'all that see us on a regular basis, um, is that some of y'all are church kids. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all are church kids. Like real talk. Some of y'all are church kids. Like some
God
of
in the war, right?
y'all, and some of y'all been ready to say some of the stuff that's gonna probably come out of our mouths tonight for a long time. And I understand. I get it. And when I think about Sunday, when I think about Sunday, when I think about like, um, what does it mean?
Same.
What does it mean for us to be like, okay, are we ready yet? You got to understand, like, for me, I'm the church kid that became pastor, right? There are things as a kid I wanted to do, things that because of the kind of environment we had, it seemed like we had great opportunity for some things to really go down. You know what I mean? Like some real good opportunities for things to go down. But then all of a sudden, never got the chance, never got the opportunity, never got the opportunity to, you know, to be able to really do some things meaningful. Because for some reason we were told it was bad, it was this, it was that, it wasn't God, it wasn't whatever, it wasn't orderly, it wasn't all these different things. In August, I'm going to be 45 years old. So my question is, are we ready now? Because I mean, there's something to be said about, always hearing this thing about, youth is wasted on the young and all these other things. But when some of us were young, loved the Lord, wanted to do things for God and everything like that, we was ready to go and told, nah, not unless you do it this way, not unless you do this way, not unless you do it this way. So that Joshua 1:1 text always hits me different. Moses, my servant, is dead. And God is literally telling Joshua to arise. But check this out. He is one of the few people left from a whole generation of folk that died off. He literally wanted the promised land in his 40s. Now he's in his 80s. And he got to lead a whole nother generation of people into a land they should have been in 40 years before. So, I mean, sometimes I'm like, you know, I could be myself with y'all, right?
Always.
Sure.
I could be myself. And I just be real with you. There are times I get so annoyed by the following questions. I've been pastoring long enough where these questions annoy me. Um, like, how are we going to get the young people? Um, why aren't there young people around? And uh, why do we suddenly got to change stuff because it's worked all this time? Um, People are in denial when they ask those questions because I think they still believe in this revisionist history that that church was just so great. Like they didn't have a moment when they didn't think that church was great. Okay, like I get annoyed by revisionist history,
Go ahead.
and it's like, bro, the reason that some people, and I'm not even just talking young people, I'm talking people in general.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't fool with the church because some folk just won't stop walking around the mountain. Like everybody else in the world knows there's a promised land. And they're like right there, but they don't want to go into it. So they're going to walk around the mountain because they're just so convinced they can't have it. Because that means they would have to do something different or they have to do something more. And, and and then there's those of us that are just like, come on, let's go. Let's do this thing. Let's make this happen. Let's rise. And we still got people that still want to walk around the mountain and do laps. At some point, we got to get away from it, don't we? Like, do we got to fight all the time? Do y'all just got to tell us all the time that we crazy? I don't know. I don't know if I'm old enough yet. I need y'all to tell me. I need y'all to tell me in chat. Tell me, y'all brothers. Tell me. Do I need to be like 60 before I am now well equipped and respected enough to lead folk somewhere?
Well, I think to that point, you've got people who are older than you, older than us, who probably still feel exactly the same way. If there's a 60-year-old in the church, there's an 80-year-old who probably telling them, well, we should still be doing it the way we were doing it when I was a kid. And that 60-year-old has been hearing that their entire life. And so it's like, even the folks who are right above us, maybe generation wise, who give us the what for, are getting it from the people a generation ahead of them. And like I think the church is always going to be a very specific, like, you don't have a lot of intergenerational spaces. You know what I mean? Like the church, I think, is unique in that aspect where not only are we intergenerational, but the goal is for those intergenerations to be on an equal playing field. Like when you're in school, you're intergenerational, you got intergenerational contact, but the teachers are always in control of the students, right?
Right.
Like, and so like when you come into the church and it's intergenerational, yet we're all supposed to be able to have a seat at the table and we're all supposed to be able to have some form of an equal voice. We don't know always how to navigate that in a healthy way because it's not modeled for us really anywhere else.
I mean, yes, no. I mean, if you go to your job is kind of set up that same way.
Right.
as your church is. You can have 40 people in office of ranging from 18 to almost retired, could be 70 years old still there. And you could have a manager who's 40 years old who got half the staff is older than them. And they still got
Yeah,
to listen to the manager.
but that hierarchy is pretty
Right. But
like
it's a pecking order. But I
yeah.
think I think the issue is more of prove it. I think that's the issue. If you want me to be 100% honest with you, you could be a 28-year-old college master's degree
Mm-hmm.
and be in the room. And because you're 28, you ain't done nothing yet. So they say prove it. But the problem is you never given the space to prove it. Since why I say it's kind of like jobs. They want you to come for a job, but then they'd be like, we need 10 years experience. I'm gonna have 10 years experience for an entry position. But you gotta give me a chance to have an entry position. And in a church, no one wants to give up the position. So you're kind of battling multiple levels of hierarchies within the
Yeah.
church.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ageism, you
Yeah.
have a skill or like I've done it before issue,
Right.
and then you got to have people who just trust you. The, the only time usually you get ranking within a church is someone ages out,
And
which
that's
kind of
crazy.
sucks. But
Yeah.
your families also kind of work that way. Like, okay, for example, let's say you have Thanksgiving. Such and such make the mac and cheese. Just an easy example. They make the mac and cheese every year.
Right.
Ain't nobody else making the mac and cheese. I don't care if you made it before or whatnot, whatever, whatever. This great auntie such and such is making it because she been making it for the last 40 years. And everybody's cool with it. And then you got little Tanya come around, be like, I want to make it before. I don't know yet. But if aunt gets sick and she can't do it no more, it'd be like, well, let's just give it a shot. She
But
yeah,
I
because she
think
aged out.
but I think you've gotta in that type of scenario, if you the aunt making the mac and cheese and little Tanya wants to make the mac and cheese, then like you've got to hold space for at least to have little Tanya come see at least how you do it so that she has an appreciation for the precedent that is set.
I don't
Like
want
I
to teach my
remember
replacement.
like
I
it
don't
was
want
a
to teach my
big
replacement.
deal, but like it was a big deal when my dad let me carve the turkey with him on Thanksgiving for the first time. Like,
True, but
you know what I
because
mean?
he
It's
was
like
aging out. It's
yeah,
it's
sure, but like he could have just said, "I'm not doing it anymore," and like you figure it out. But he was like, you know, you gonna come and watch me. We gonna do it. I'm
yeah.
gonna show you where you messing up. You know what I mean?
Some people are
So,
cool with honoring the replacement, but there's more people who are I am the position.
And
There's more
and
people that the position is who they are. Their
and
job is who they are.
so
And,
so because position becomes identity rather
yep.
than rather than a leg in the race,
Yes.
people don't want to let go. I got you. So I like the fact that when I put the title out and I kind of said it like this, we know that it's not just like an age thing. We recognize that it's not just an experience thing. It is a reality of really unpacking the fact that some people have literally become the thing. You know, they have literally become the thing. What is it I hear from people, they don't want to become the thing. They want to serve and they want the opportunity to serve. But there are people that won't admit that the thing they have become the thing. And so we don't have healthy spaces for people to actually deal with the fact that you gotta deal with the issue a little bit. You gotta deal with that issue. And it's like you just said, I've gone through all this stuff so I can be prepared to do a thing, but I can't even get in the door. You ain't gonna let me in the door to try to even figure this thing out. And then you bring up like your dad bringing you alongside him about carving his turkey. So it's kind of like two different concepts. The aging out thing could be better as transition if people are brought alongside, right? But what we see before Joshua 1 is that you had a whole group of people that saw the exact same thing, but 10 of them said, we are willing to sabotage everything because unless God just hands it to us, we ain't gonna go up in there. We're gonna tell everybody that they look at us like grasshoppers, they'll eat us. We'll do whatever we got to do not to go forward, even though they saw the same land, the same blessing, the same everything, right? We're not talking about seeing two different things. We're talking about 10 people that literally said, yeah, God promised it to us, but I don't mean we got to go in. So that created a culture where they lied and everything else, and they settled for being at a mountain. And you know what the insane part about that is? Like, biblically speaking, contextually speaking, you just came out of slavery. You literally just left a place where you were enslaved. And you saying that the better thing is not good enough. And I'm willing to settle at a mountain, complain about how we gonna eat, complain about what we eat. Everything else been provided on a regular basis. And God's willing to give you a land so you can cultivate it into what you want, but you don't want it. That's
But
ins- that's insane to me.
I don't think
is
that's
there
it. Go ahead,
is
Mitchell.
there any sort of like, because we know that in that context, the mountain is like the closest to God that you can be. You know, like they viewed the mountains as the place where heaven and earth sort of intersect, right? And so, like, is there an apprehension to leave the foot of the mountain because it's almost like the argument for, like, you know, how we want our pastors to be all encompassing, or how certain people want, you know, their political leaders to be strong men, right? Because it's like, I just want someone that I can put all of the responsibility on to figure this out, right? And so, like, cool. God spoke directly to you, Moses, and then Moses made the decision that it's going to be Joshua. Joshua, or Moses told us that Joshua was going to be next. We didn't even have to think about all that. All that's already been handled, right? And so, like, is there, do we sometimes get stuck in that mentality of, well, we can't go too far off because then that means I sort of have to be responsible for, like, how I'm going to show up, rather than just sitting and waiting for someone to dictate to me how I
Yes,
should show up.
Mm-hmm.
yes. And I'll say it this way: it's the same way when someone's in a bad situation and they can be offered something, but the known unknowns is more fear. You're more afraid than the things you don't understand, but you know you don't understand them. So it's kind of like, I know I'm struggling. I know I need to get another job. I know I need to do these things. I know I need to do these things, but I'm comfortable in my problem I'm in now. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to go do the. I know I need to do the thing, but where I'm at right now, I'm okay with it. I'll deal with my problems here because I know what my problems are. But if I go over there, I don't know how it will turn out. So then I won't go over there. But then, like you said, Mitchell, you'll rather have someone go scout the area and see if they can pull it off. And then you think about doing it. And that still might not make you move because in the back of your mind, you're still thinking, what if it don't work? So as people, we tend to think in a negative context all the time. When you look at something, you never go, oh, this could go real well if I do da 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 da. You
Right.
go, that might not go the way I need it to go, even though it has never gone bad for me or anyone else before. But you hear it's kind of like the commercial where they say a prescription and it got all these crazy side effects.
Mm-hmm.
And a side effect could be one in a million, but somebody be like, that's gonna be me. Can't do it. Can't do it. And I'm not saying that's bad, but the outcome could be so much better. But because we hold on to the negative way more than we do the positive, we tend to not move. And that's why you always hear people say the people who are most successful are people who take risks. The people who will be willing to risk everything are the people that's typically more satisfied with life because they go, I tried, it didn't work, but I found something else I like.
So then, do like if the church does the church need to learn how to mitigate risk, like still learn how to take risks while still sort of like managing the risk, or is that considered a lack of faith?
Maybe it's
What
let go
is
and let God.
See, but here we go. Okay, so let's put that in perspective for a minute. People say stuff all the time they don't believe. Let go, let God. Right? People that say that usually say it to make other people feel okay because they can't let go. Right? Some people have an inflated view of self. If I'm not running it, it's not going to work.
Hmm.
That's that whole I've become the thing. So if you take me out of it, it's all going to fall apart.
That's why a lot of businesses fail.
Exactly. I I would look. I love to give people a chance to do certain things or whatever, right? But one of the challenges is I had to first say to myself, I can't expect people to be like me because they're not going to be driven like me. They're not going to function like me. They're not going to have that same whatever, you know. And so I got to first deal with that piece, right? Then I got to deal with, okay, even though you're not going to be me, what do I do to help strengthen you so I can go somewhere and not worry about anything, and it's going to keep on running, right? And some people don't go through that because they don't try to set up things to be able to be like, okay, if I step away from here, this is still going to work. There's one thing when you build it, right? And y'all, like I said, I'm an elder now, so some of y'all gonna laugh at this. I swear that some people, if they could, and it's gonna sound a certain way, and y'all just pray for me. At one point, probably in the history of Claire, there were people that if they could have dug up Sister Grace Stewart to keep things going, they would have. There are people right now in places they don't want to admit that if they could dig up folk that have gone on to glory, the way that they talk about revisionist history, they would do it in a minute because now we have to be responsible for carrying the thing to the next level. And people that realize that responsibility, right?
Hmm.
They realize that we've inherited something that we didn't start. Okay. 109 years. Church been around longer than me, longer than you, longer than all of us. We have inherited promises. Joshua was there when the promise was made. But this whole generation he had to lead is inheriting a promise that others didn't get to see fulfilled.
Hmm.
And so there has to be something within us to say, look, we've inherited something. We were given something. And our job is to advance it. But when people keep on talking about, well, this is what, no, we've seen, I'm tired of looking at this mountain. Joshua was nervous about leading. That's why God had the conversation, and that's why it was marked the way it was marked. Okay. God is speaking to Joshua like, okay, you got natural nerves, but this is your time. I'm going to be with you in this. If you meditate on what I've already put out there day and night, you're going to find success. Be strong and courageous. I'm with you. You ain't got to do it. God is literally speaking this thing up in him, right? But the thing that we have to remember is that this other generation is inheriting a promise. This generation that's going to go in should have already been in. You feel what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The generations after us should have already seen certain things, right?
Right.
Before we got there. We've inherited a lot of stuff, right? We've inherited we've inherited the results of mistakes. We've inherited bad decisions. We've inherited good decisions. We've inherited good things. You know what I mean? All that stuff. And so now you got to deal with, do you want to move this thing forward, or do you want to keep on just saying, well, the next generation can get it? No, next generation can't get it because they don't have any kind of recall or attachment, right? They ain't got no attachment like that. And the people that do have an attachment, they're still doing all the stuff and coming around with all the different things. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, there's the flip side to that conversation too, and I'm not like saying anything negative about what you're saying on this one, but
uh-huh.
like you also got to remember that also things do have to end, and I think that's one thing that I think other people are afraid of happening is that it ends on their watch, and that
Mm,
doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
right.
Like nothing lasts forever, and we get into this mode where, like you said, oh, it's been 109 years. That's great. That's fantastic. But every story ends at some point, and someone has to take the leadership in that role. Someone has to guide you to the like you said. Let's say he did take him to the mountain. That story over. Like each generation's part is to go to the next chapter, but at some point the books do end. And usually the person that finishes the story doesn't even know anything about the beginning of the story. Or if
Exactly.
they do, they've only been told the beginning of the story based on what someone told them, based on what someone told them. And I think going back to what we was talking about with like members of the churches, they feel that they own part of the church by being in that spot. Like, this is my piece I give to you. Cool, great. But I don't want to take my hand off the piece though.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's a hard thing for people, like you said, it becomes their identity, especially if they don't have a job. Like when I say don't have a job, I mean like they've retired. They, they're on their second half of life, third
Mhm.
half, whatever the phrase is called.
Yeah.
You
And
say third half, Patrick?
Hey,
yeah,
man.
third half, bro, third half, third half.
Hey,
Um,
then the fourth half and then the fifth half.
yeah,
This is
bro,
not a
everything's a
this is
half,
not a
bro.
math podcast.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right. It's
Because
look.
I already said first half, second half. I can't say third now. Like I already had a hole, brother. Anyway,
So you going into a whole other hole and a whole other hole and a
yeah,
hole?
brother. I ain't working no more. I got grandkids. I got great grandbaby. You know what I'm saying? That's how life works. Anyway, we getting
Yeah.
off
Bro.
subject.
Yeah.
But you get to this point where like all I have is the church. And when I say all I have is the church, you got, and I'm talking about more to this 50, 60, 40, 50, 60 year old. Let's say 50, 60 more or less. Your kids is gone. You working on retirement. You probably lost a few friends. You know what I'm saying? Like the things in your life has drastically changed at this point where your mom and dad ain't there. You probably got no aunts and uncles, right? You are now the foundation to the group that's underneath you.
Yeah.
And there's two things you hold on to that spot. Either I'm gonna keep guiding y'all as long as I can, which is kind of the problem because at some point you need somebody to help you. I can't carry the torch no more. I have to let it go. But if you hang on to it too long, you kind of lose everybody because they're like, "Yo, he crazy. I'm about to go start my own path."
Right.
And that's kind of how churches started to lose the 30, 40 year olds,
Yep.
the 20, 30, 40 year olds. The people hanged on to their torch just a little too long when the other person was like, "Here, just let me hold it sometimes. Let me just help carry it on." And they're like, "Nah, I got it. All right, cool. Well,
but
I'm gonna go somewhere where I'm wanted."
but I think there's like, and I'll probably lose the thought before I complete it. But I think there's like two sides to that, right? Because like some of that is the fact that we don't do a good job of helping people see God in the transition and learn how to honor God in the transition. Which part of that sometimes is mourning a certain aspect that can no longer exist anymore or needs to die or has passed on. But then there's also that other piece of like the generational trauma, like you said, the reason the 30 and 40 year olds go off because no one, will let them sort of step in sometimes. But like the another reason why they don't ride it out is because the church has a tradition, whether it's at like a denominational level or a local church level, of like, oh, well, we can't get along, so half of us are going to go over here and start our whole other church,
Mm-hmm.
and or we're going to split, and this denomination is now two different denominations. So like, we don't do a good job of holding space for the transition to be healthy. And I don't know where you start with trying to correct some of that, pain, some of that. I don't know how you would classify it, but
I don't know, because we do votes and we put new people in spots, and some people be spiteful and then don't pass on the information. So the new person started from scratch. So I I'm not going to bash churches, um, but I will say I think it's just too idealistic. Like the roles. I'm important. I don't want to lose my importance. Every
And
human wants to be needed.
I would even, and I'll, you know what? You don't want to say you're bashing. Listen, we're church kids. We church kids that grew up.
Well, when I say bash, I mean an actual individual.
Oh no. So here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. I I look at the situation, right? And I look at it as the reason nobody knows how to mourn something is because people are living in denial, right? They've been living in denial for a while. There are people that I know for a fact, their view of self is very much inflated, not by others, but by themselves. And, you know, to realize that you are only a piece of the greater whole, but you think you're the majority of it, like nothing can go on without you, right? That is an inflated view. And and when you have that, and when you have that, that turns off people wanting to be around, because then they say, well, since I see you thinking and functioning that way, I assume everybody else is like that. And that's not true. And then when you talk about healthy transitions, right? You can't have healthy transitions until you deal with the illness in the first place. You got to deal with the actual illness, right? Folk are in denial. Denial, that's one piece, right? There are people in denial. Y'all remember the episode from the Jamie Foxx show where his sister comes into town and she goes to whatever the fake Playboy mansion is in there, or whatever, the Players Palace. That's what it was called.
Mhm. You would
She goes,
remember that.
yeah. I watch enough TV. I would remember that. I remember. Look, I want a whole trip based on random facts that I know, right?
Right.
So she goes to the Players Palace, right? Because
Hmm.
thinks that she thinks that she can what, find a way to get off in Hollywood and stuff like that. Jamie ain't got off in Hollywood yet. He's still bell hopping and doing this and doing that and all that kind of stuff. And he's trying to be big brother, telling her, don't go, don't do this. She goes off anyway, sneaks off. And
Hmm.
then Uncle Junior goes with him, right? And when they go there, Uncle Junior sees one of his boys. And he says, and he's just hugging him and everything. He's like, well, what, last time I went by here and I was with you, man, you disappeared. He was like, well, I came here and I never left. And as they talk, no, watch this. As they talk, somebody watch this episode. As they talk, his friend has been gone for so long. He talking about stuff like, what, love boats off the air? Uh, and then Marvin Gaye is dead. And then, bringing up all these different people. He's like, well, at least we still got OJ Simpson. And he's like,
hate to tell you, brother, but
right, I got to tell you about that too. Like,
White Bronco, baby.
right. Dude had been so far gone where he was that he lost 40 years. And
Don't
if
we
you
call that institutionalized?
not, well, there's part
Not
of
in
that.
this case, but yeah.
But to a certain extent, you go from being enamored with the thing to being institutionalized by the thing, and you're unwilling to break out. And now you have become disassociated from the realities that have been surrounding you the whole time. So when people in church life, when folk that are saved, right, and say they love Jesus, but they get tight about everything, the positions, the this, the that, the method by which things happen, so on and so forth. When they get so caught up in that stuff, right? And when that stuff begins to happen, they become disassociated from the opportunity to do ministry and to be connected with people and all that kind of stuff because they're only consumed with the one, maybe two things that they do. Because possibly outside of there, they ain't nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And and before somebody clips me, everybody is somebody, but relative to how people view you, think you a big shot. Wait, how you gonna be church famous and nobody really know you?
Mm-hmm.
You're pursuing being church famous, and you going around and you so disassociated from how life really works. You go to another church or you go to another place and you just think people just know you because you show up. Nah, nobody know you. Nobody know you. Nobody care. You want to be church famous? That's diabolical to me. You would rather be church famous than get to heaven. That's straight. You
Yes.
rather right. You know what I'm saying? Like you rather have a position than let God use you, and then in God using you, God elevates you, and then you're able to actually enjoy some of the things in the process. Something about that don't make sense, and and that's bothersome to me because it seems like you've been mourning a whole lot of stuff, but you don't want to admit it. You've been mourning transitioning in life, but you don't want to admit it. You've been mourning all these different things that have been happening, but you don't want to admit it. You're concerned about being forgotten in the process, but you don't want to admit it. And you keep on begging in your own way to stay in a thing, even though you're no longer effective, but you don't want to admit it. And this ain't age. This is not age. This is mentality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because again, Joshua is now 80, leading a younger generation into the promised land, right? He was 40. He was younger when they had the first shot. But now he is older and God granted him, gave him the opportunity for a chance, right? So here we are.
Hey,
But I think, and the thing with Joshua, like sometimes I think our language isn't definitive enough with folks, right? Because like in that chapter and verse, he says, "Moses, my servant, is dead." Like hard stop. It is
right.
what it is. There is no point. There is no use in hoping that somehow he comes back. Like he is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So now, therefore, and then he gives him his instructions to make the definitive break. Like Moses was in charge. Moses dead. Ain't ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like you can
Yeah, he did.
either get stuck in that fact, or you can continue to find a way to move forward. And so, like, I wonder if like we need to collectively be better about like
Moving forward.
saying when a thing is dead. Yeah, and not in a way that is
Well,
rude or dismissive of folks, but like being it like in order for us to move forward, we have to be able to know that this thing is not coming back.
Okay, so I hear you. Now think about it this way. In your life, when have you ever moved forward by choice?
No, I mean
A
that's
lot
super
of
fair.
reasons people don't move forward is because they won't take the risk to move forward. Usually you move forward because your entire life you were forced to go forward. When
Mhm.
you were a kid, you were forced to go to school. You were forced to go to the next grade level. Even though you were doing the assignments, you were confident in what you were doing. I had to go to the next grade. I got to go to a new school. All right, I did that. Now I'm an adult. Now I have to be an adult. Now I have to go get a job. Now I have to go do this thing. I'm being forced to take steps in a direction. And once you're established to some degree, I don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
And I think that is a lot that plays into a role for what we're talking about in general. Like I have autonomy. I am me. I can do what me want to do. I don't have to do what the collective does. But at the same time, for growth, you have to find your own route to move forward.
Yeah,
I mean,
but how many folks have been able to be like, you know, getting laid off was the best thing that happened to me. You know what I
because it
mean? Like
forced them to move forward.
because I had no choice because it was a very clean
Mhm.
break of this is not an option anymore. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so like I think that you can sort of play with whether or not that's advantageous, but like so often we dilly dally around actually trying to it's like no, if it's dead then let it be dead. Dead things need to be buried. But like if it's not dead then that's a different conversation. But if you keep trying to resuscitate something that is past the point of being resuscitated, then you're just wasting your breath, like literally.
Well, well, if you're keep trying to resuscitate something that's gone, the thing that's gone isn't the problem. The problem is that you were too reliant on the thing
Mm,
to define who you were. So, like for example, if if your mom, dad, whoever, they on life support or they brain dead in the hospital, and you like, nah, we ain't unplugging them. They gonna come back. That's a you thing. That's you not letting go. That's you feel like you are so defined by that person or that thing that if it goes, you go. And now, granted, you have people like long-term relationships. They both 90 years old, live together. One of them passes, the next one dies from heartbreak. I get it. That makes some sense. But like,
yeah.
people
Sorry.
get fired from their jobs, and then they want to go shoot everybody at the job. That they gotta be escorted because they don't want them to throw a tantrum in there because the job defined who they were. They did
Mm,
not define the job. And it goes back to what we said before. Like people are they want to feel needed, and when they
mhm.
they don't feel needed anymore, they feel worthless.
Yeah. Now,
So
Miss Lee in the chat said that she disagrees because we all have obligations. Now, I feel like there's a difference between living into your obligations and creating an obligation out of something that is not actually obligatory. I think those are two
I
different things. I think we should all be responsible and held responsible to our obligations. Um, but the
but
things
you're
that
but
but the
but you're
things
forced
that
into
we
obligations.
Yeah, but the things that we sort of convince ourselves are obligations that aren't actually obligations, I think we have to be a little more open to conversation about personally. I
I
could be
mean, that's
wrong.
like
I'll defer to y'all on that. But
I
I don't think we should skirt our obligations. I don't think that's what any of us are saying.
I
Uh
don't think that we're saying you got to skirt your obligations. I think there are obligations, but I think obligations are inherited. Like you just don't. You either inherit them or you create them for yourself. Like if you're an adult, if my parents let me stay home forever and take care of me, I have no obligations to do anything different. I can stay and just live in their house until they make me do something, which now I'm obligated to take care of myself because I was forced to. You should choose to have obligations because you want freedom. With freedom becomes obligations. But like some people are perfectly content living off somebody or living off the government, and they have zero obligations to do anything
But I think
except
also
exist.
in the church, I think it's very rare for anything to be an obligation that is solely on you. Like you can have an obligation, but you like the church should be constructed in such a way that you can share that obligation, quote unquote, with
Yeah,
other people, which
but
which is I think is sort of what we're talking about, right?
you gotta
In
make
being
teams.
able, yeah, in being able to say, look, I'm gonna go as hard as I can on this, and some weeks that's gonna be different than other weeks, and on the weeks where I
Mm-hmm.
can't go as hard, somebody else has to also be able to come in and like, you know, pick up some of that slack.
Mhm.
Um, you know, because Moses wasn't going into the land. Uh,
Woo woo
and
birthday.
happy
My
birthday,
bad.
Miss Leah.
Woo woo.
That's what's up.
See,
Yes,
Uh,
I heard some
we talk about
Chinese, some Japanese. I know she did. I know she got some steakhouse. She got us some.
went out partying and still came online. That's what I'm talking about.
That's because the drink wasn't strong enough.
Oh, snap.
that's
All
how
right.
you know. That's how you know we ain't saved enough yet. Because I have never been. I have never said on my birthday at 7:30. I just got home.
Yo,
Hey,
that,
Godmom, we love you, Godmom. Don't let.
yeah.
It's all love.
Listen,
All love.
we miss Miss Leah up in church.
Um,
So we gotta give her the business while we on here. We miss her around there, boy. She'll be if she ain't cracking up. Look, if
sister
she
done
ain't
jumped
cracking,
in.
yeah, man. Like if she ain't cracking up right now, then we ain't doing our job. So, but
I'll say this, Mitchell. I rock with that. I think that if you want something to grow, we all have an obligation to help something grow. I think the problem is if you look at it from a plant, everybody has a day to water the plant. The problem is some people want to water it every day so they get more credit.
that's
Mm.
now that's
Or they don't want or they don't trust other people enough to water it when they say
Water
they're
on
going to
their
water
day.
it.
Exactly. And,
and I
that
that's
plays a big role. That plays a big role. And that goes back to what I say. I want to feel valued. If I do something, I want to feel valued. They're not doing it because for the love of the game. They're doing it for them.
and
Eh,
go ahead because
Oh,
yeah, I
I'm
mean
go. I mean, it's just like if you got a player on your basketball team and they the star, they not trying to help nobody else. They trying to get their buckets. Win, lose, draw. I got mines.
so since you brought it up, right? So since you brought it up, you know the basketball piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always lift Jordan, right? Some of us in our generation.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No. This ain't gonna be negative, but it's like people would say that Jordan didn't start winning until he had the pieces, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Now,
can rock with that.
you know what I'm saying? Like he was dominant. But it didn't mean he was ready to win that championship. He had to deal with the Pistons, and the Pistons were team oriented. They were ready. He had to deal with the Lakers and the Celtics before he got on. He may have had a dog mentality, but he needed and nobody, and I don't want to hear it from nobody else. He needed Scottie Pippen,
Mm-hmm.
Bill Cartwright, John Paxton. He needed those cats so
Phil.
that his abilities could maximize, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not that he should have been out. Like, do you want a Jordan dropping 50 and losing, or do
Harden.
you want a Jordan that's dropping 30? We ain't talking about that, 20, 25. He's still dropping 30.
Mm-hmm.
Got Scotty dropping 25. He got Paxton first
Yeah.
3. And then Steve Kerr down the line putting up 15, 20 from the outside, all that kind of stuff. So then his greatness his greatness is then seen on another level because it's actually causing a lift to the team and not just going by the wayside. He was running over cats saying, "You need to come out here like dogs." So he needed other dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once
you also needed a system that to coordinate his greatness in with the pieces, right? Because like we can all be great, but if it's great and chaotic, then there's still no. Yeah, I need Phil Jackson. I need Tex Winter. I need someone who can organize, that system to say, Michael, you can still be great in the midst of this system.
Right.
And that means here it is. Everybody in the system, if we're going to use the word system, everybody in it knows their role in it for it to be successful. And then you don't put it all. Look, when I came to Claire, and people remember what I said when I came to Claire and met with everybody before my first Sunday preaching, okay? I told everybody, I said, I am not here to be LeBron James. I am not here to be Michael Jordan. I'm here to be Magic Johnson. And they were like, what? I was like, I want to pass the rock, but I got to find out who's here because my goal may not be your goal. My goal is to build up the kingdom of God, do this, do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your goal may not be that. Your goal is maybe to just exist, but exist better. And once you begin to figure all that out, right, stuff gets weeded out real quick. Because if you're on I want to get to the promised land thing, and then you find out there are other people that think they're already in it, and you're like, nah, we've been walking around the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I showed up here. We're at a mountain. We're not in the land. We're at a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not in denial about it. I didn't grow up. Wait, I didn't grow up in Claire. The first interaction I ever had with Claire, and I always tell this story, is an interesting thing. First time I ever interacted with Claire, I came on a youth day as a speaker. Just barely started preaching. Barely just started preaching. I was 17 years old. That was the first time I came to Claire.
It was in the 1900s.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
And that, hey, it is what it is. You was born then too, so it's all.
Yeah, good. I know.
Like,
it's just.
It's like, hey man, shoot. But you couldn't have told 17-year-old me that I was going to pastoring the place. Right? So the only interaction I ever had with Claire before I became pastor was 17 years old, barely in ministry. Okay? If I could even remember that day, the only thing I remember from that day, that was the first time I went away from my manuscript and it worked, and I felt good about it. That's the only thing I remember from that day. I don't remember.
So you telling me you winged it?
No, I didn't wing it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't wing it. I used to be a manuscript preacher. I had a black folder. I had everything in there. And then all of a sudden it clicked and I didn't even I closed that thing up, had my Bible, and just went. That's what I remember. That's the only thing I remember. Okay? But everybody from back then ain't here now. Most of the people that might be here now probably don't even recognize that I was even here, even there back then. So
yeah, that,
you see what I mean? So that 17-year-old kid is now a 44-year-old man. And I've seen too much. Whereas like I came and then all of a sudden I'm like, bro, you still at the same mountain. And you had many cats come through here. It's been almost 30 years since I've been here, and there have been cats, and you've been still, circling the same mountain. You feel what I'm saying? There's a problem. So at some point, you got to take accountability for why you still at the mountain. You got to take some accountability. We just say we messed up. We said we couldn't have it when we should have had it. You know what I'm saying? But you see what I mean? Like,
so how do we? I'm not sure how to ask the question, but like, you got something in your notes that's sort of like, there's an individual aspect to each of us, and then there's the community aspect. And if as the individual, we don't feel like the community that we have found ourselves in is in the mindset to move forward,
Mm-hmm.
like obviously we can always go find another community, but like what does that look like to be trying to strive forward if you found yourself in a space that doesn't really feed that?
What do you mean? Need that?
Like feed that. Like if folks are content to be where they're at and you're trying to figure out how to move forward, what does that look like that doesn't is there a way that can look healthy without it like feeling combative all the time? Like
I,
if I'm let's say I'm in a space and everyone
Mhm.
is content and comfortable and I'm coming in and I'm ruffling feathers because I think that we could try something new or this, that, and the third. Um, how do you navigate that in a healthy way? Or should you just assume that it is going to be
You ready?
uh, painful? Yeah.
I'm excited for this one because I already did this. This happened for
Oh,
me.
let me give my example before
Go
I
ahead.
have to do something. Yeah. So let me give the actual thing that I did when I came. People came up to me left and right, left and right, left and right. Like they were ready for like some people were ready for things to go a certain way and they were ready to just fly off. And I told everybody for 6 months, I ain't touching nothing. And they
Mm,
and they looked at me and they're like, well, why wouldn't you? I was like, I don't know y'all.
mhm,
I know me. I know my
Mm-hmm.
mentality about ministry. I know what I ain't touched nothing for 6 months. And then only after 6 months did someone ask me, why didn't you touch nothing? Why ain't you do anything? Why ain't you check? And then I told them the whole story about how I tried to do a healthy transition. The
mhm,
previous pastor, right? I tried to do a healthy transition. I tried to meet people beforehand. I tried to do all this stuff. But that previous pastor did not want to do that for whatever reason because he was stuck in his own mess. And so I had to let people know after 6 months, this is what happened where the healthy transition didn't happen. And this is
Mm-hmm.
why I didn't touch nothing because I didn't want to come in here and just be like, well, because of this and make all kind of assumptions. No, I let the chips fall where they may. And so only after that was I able to be like, okay, now I can tell y'all, now this is what happened. And they're like, well, thank you for sharing that because now we understand and we don't think like you just didn't care. Oh, I cared. I cared a lot, but it's just I can't just be like, okay, you need to go. That's not healthy, right? So now I've set a different precedent as a leader. I set a different precedent like, look, I'm willing to see what's the good, bad, and the ugly. And because I'm willing to do that, you have to be willing to know after a while what is the assessment.
Right.
And then after that, we began to do some
Mhm.
stuff and see some things, so on and so forth.
All right, I got you. From my perspective, kind of what you said before, you walk into an environment, they ain't about to budge. So you got to make a decision. Are you going to sit there and watch it fail, or you move on? I mean, it's kind of it, you're putting a weird problem when you want something to change. You can tell it needs to change, and no one wants to make anything happen. So you really only have three options. You either leave, go somewhere else where people are willing to change. You just deal with it in silence because every time you bring it up, you get outvoted, you get pushed over because you're outnumbered, or you do it on your own within their environment to show them that it could work. And that's kind of what I said earlier when I said you got to prove it. Like if I go to if you go it's not even use a church to say you were doing a fundraiser and the group always does the same fundraiser every year and it's not truly performing the way we want it to, you be like, well, let's just do this. And they be like, we've been doing this forever. It's been working because it's been giving them the same exact result every year. But even though let's say the result is they made $1,000, but everything costs more than it did when they first started making $1,000.
Mhm.
It's like, well, y'all need to make $5,000. Well, how about we do this instead? And they'd be like, nah, we're known for this. We need to do this. We need to do that. And it's like, okay, cool. But it ain't, we need more. We need something different. And so you kind of either have to do it on your own or you just go with the flow or you let it fail.
But
I think,
ultimately, I know like even if I can do it on my own, there is a certain strength in being able to do it with the backing of my community or in connection with my community. So like how do we move from that content potentially fear based model to like that communal like obedience like I don't even know if
find
that
somebody
question
to
makes
speak for
sense,
you.
but
You find somebody to speak for you. You find that older person in the group that's willing to listen to you. You got to find maybe not the big dog of the group, but maybe like one or two slots down from there. You find the person in the community that's listened to. You know, they might not be the most vocal. It might be the old lady of the church and they just like you. It might be um, the grandson of somebody. It could be anybody, but you can find it. You know, when you go to church, you know who the popular person is. They might not run stuff, but when they speak, people be like, "Oh yeah, I like what you said there." It could be the same thing you said. You ever like complimented somebody? Let's say like you say you're to your girlfriend, "Oh, you're pretty today," but if someone else says it to them, it just means something different. And so like that same thing can happen in the church. Like you can sit there and be like, this isn't working. We need to try something different. And they hear you say that all the time and it don't move nobody. And then you can get some new person shows up and they can say the same thing and they can move the group. It's luck of the draw, timing, patience. But at the end of the day, for church has to be willing to change or you have to force it to. I mean, I got pushed back by putting a kiosk in the church to take tithes, bro. I got pushed back for doing the digital tithing. Those are just two of the things because I kept telling them, I was like, my generation don't carry checks and we don't got cash. So if you want some money, y'all gotta find a way to take money from a digital world. And I'm telling you, brother, I was getting it wasn't, and then I got to the point I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I wasn't looking for any backing. I wasn't looking for. I was like, it has to get done. At some point, it does. I mean, it worked out, but there's still some people that feel like it's a bad thing because they feel like it's an ATM in the church.
I
First church
mean,
got two.
well, but I think there's also like space to be able to say like to a certain degree, like obviously outside of the practical piece of it, like
Mhm.
there's they're not wrong. Like there's something about being able to physically say, I'm giving you $1. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
rather than I'm giving
Oh
you
yeah.
this digital representation of $1.
But I can change something and still keep the old thing too.
Yeah.
I think the problem we run into is that when someone says they want to do something different, they immediately think that they want to destroy the old thing.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I mean, we do that now when you talk about sports. Oh, they don't play like they used to, and this, that, the other. It's like, well, the game had to change. You still got the game. It just isn't the exact game that you remember.
Well,
Eh,
and obviously the changes that you like you are going to forget about a lot
Mm-hmm.
faster than the changes that you don't like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so there's always going to have to be that matter of perspective in terms of like things are always changing. It's just that you didn't have to, or this particular change didn't affect you the way that it affected
The
the
next group.
person next to you. But now this next change maybe is making you a little uncomfortable. And so like
Mm-hmm.
how do we, like we have to sit in that like that understanding of my individual perspective is valid, but is not necessarily the community perspective. And so like that, and I like honestly like that's an uncomfortable place to have to sit sometimes when like, like I've been in churches, I've been on boards, I've been at jobs where it's like this don't necessarily feel right to me, but like if this is what, like if this is the decision that is being
Of the group.
made
Yep.
as the group, the consensus,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to weigh, is my individual perspective on this going to hold more weight? And sometimes it has to, right? Like sometimes you've got to stick to your principles, you got to stick to your guns, and you got to get the heck out of Dodge if things are moving in the wrong direction. But there's an alternative to that where sometimes you got to check your ego, and you got to check whatever else is working in you that maybe ain't right or righteous, as Pastor Willis
Yeah.
Johnson will say. Like I'm doing this solely for my comfort or for my position or for my reputation, rather than being able to say this might suck for me, but for the community, it is going to move us forward.
Oh, and a lot of what you're talking about is just understanding. Um,
just
it's like,
plain old empathy, huh?
and not even just empathy. So, like, if you had a school project with somebody, like you had a group, and y'all all got to figure out what y'all going to do as a project together.
Yeah.
You got, let's say there's 5 people. You might have 3 different ideas. You can vote on it. Somebody gonna be mad because their idea didn't get picked. Now, like you said, you gotta be patient, suck it up, and just ride the wave. I mean, we do that with our entire lives. Like right now, we riding a wave. We've voted, whatever. I don't remember the numbers no more. 47. And we just riding the wave because we have no choice. And
But is there a way to expand our? I'm gonna sound like Bishop Palmer for a second. Is there a
all
way
right,
to expand our ecclesiastical imagination to learn how to incorporate, rather than saying this is what we're going to do, but to say there is room for your gift in what we are trying to do? Like even if like does that make sense? Like to say, like to not exclude
yeah.
you or to make you be someone that you're not, but to say we can shift how we do what we're trying to do so that your gifts and abilities have room to live and thrive here.
I
So,
think that's
so
just listening. Um,
yeah.
uh, Also somebody being conscious that this person wants to be included.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just being conscious that someone wants to be included. And then my godmom threw out something like, "Why is it so hard?" What's she say? Why should Let me just click on this thing. Why should there be such a problem with change going forward if it works? Jesus was changing up things all the time, and I mean, yeah, but I think the problem with change is the word change. What we talked about before, people get accustomed to what they're used to. They're accustomed to the way things are ran, and then when you get somebody that ruffles their feathers, it it's uncomfortable for them.
So
Um,
But I think we also have to learn how to have grace when the change doesn't work. Sometimes
that's that
sometimes
proof thing.
it's a
Remember,
miss. Yeah.
remember what I said before. People will follow somebody if they prove that it works.
Yeah.
If
and
somebody's a millionaire, I'm gonna listen to them because they're a millionaire. That's how people's brains operate.
So then when we're talking about that imagination piece, and we got to kind of get ready to start descending from 30,000 feet. Um, there's a part in this. There's a part in this that I sent, and I'm just hit, and I think it kind of hits for us to land. Movement has to be seen differently. It's so I put down in the notes movement as honor and not betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
See, and if some people have listened to me, I always go back into the history of the church. Everything I'm doing, I'm referencing in an honorable way, Grace Stewart, right? I'm like, she would when the church was founded, 1917, she ain't had no right to vote. She barely had any rights at all as a person. And she saw something that needed to happen, got people involved. And guess what happened? Something shifted, right? Now, we can praise that all day, but people seem to not take away from that. The part that I take away from that 109 years later, this is the part I take. She did something to address a need that was present. There was nothing to deal with these kids in the place where she was. And then she said, something has to happen. That is called movement. The way you honor the past is by moving forward. You don't. There's a term that we don't use enough. Um, we don't use it enough, and I think we don't use it enough because some people don't even know what it means. We need to stop deifying eras, people, and all that stuff. And the reason we need to stop doing that is because we actually, by doing so, we silence their actual voice. So, like, is it great that Dr. King has a monument in DC? Yeah. But why would they give a monument to a black man that by the time he was assassinated, even among black folk, he didn't have much approval among his own people, and he was always seen as a troublemaker. The reason is if we can give you something that glorifies the guy, that means you have the opportunity to deify him in a certain light so that the message he had loses its teeth. If you deify a period of time, if you lift up something and make it bigger, it takes away then the responsibility to do more, which then means that you now look at movement and change as adversarial and not as a honor and a privilege. It is a privilege for me to do new things. It is an honor to move things forward because now I'm flowing in the same tradition. Watch that. Grace Stewart saw a need in 1917. Charles Ferguson saw a need in 2026. It's still in the same vein, but it's not the same method. And so we have to create space where it's like actual movement is not a bad thing and change. And that's the other thing. You got to quit looking at change as being something adversarial. Movement is honor. To move a thing forward means that you desire for the thing to live.
Mm-hmm.
You want it to live. To keep it stagnant means you want to kill it.
But
That's
we
a
do
person.
this thing where we put the things that we love into these little glass cases, and
Yes.
then we put on our little white gloves to take it out from time to time to show it to people, and then we put it back in the case, but like we don't actually like use the thing. We don't do anything with it. And I think that's so funny because like we're Methodists. Like our whole system is built around transition. It's built around itineracy. It's built around this pastor who's here now may not be here 5 years from now. But there's also a chance that a pastor you had now who leaves could be back in 20 years. And if you're doing the exact same things that you were doing when they were there 20 years ago, how disheartening is that? And you're doing it as a, well, we just loved you so much. We just loved this so much. But how disheartening is it for that pastor to come back into a space where they set you up to grow and you just decided to bury your talent?
You know what's crazy though? But I understand that. Like, I understand that logic of they had a great pastor, they came in, they did some great things, and then they became stagnant. That ironically makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
Because it's kind of like what I said earlier. The next pastor comes in, you gotta prove to me that you good enough. You gotta live up to somebody else's like reputation. And if you don't live up to it, why are we gonna follow you? I mean, it's like it follows suit very
But the
well. Like,
pastor could feel the same way about the congregation.
right, but I agree with you. But it's the congregation's church. It ain't the pastor's church.
It's the conference's church, but that's a different
Well,
conversation.
yeah, that's a different statement. But I'm saying that's like saying I moved into someone else's house and I'm like, yo, it could be better if we did da 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 da. And they could look at me like, who are you? The last person who was here did some fantastic stuff. I don't know nothing about you. I don't trust you. Until you build that trust with me, I am not changing squat.
It's like Mr. Deeds. Like when Adam Sandler shows up and all the people who work in this man's mansion have to sort of get used to
Yeah.
how Deeds operates. And like eventually it's all for everyone's betterment. But if they were going to get stuck in, well, this is not how your grandfather or your great uncle or whatever he was did it, then like think about what we're missing out on with this person who's trying to create connection and relationship and show us that there's more to life than just serving somebody else, in a subservient sort of role. Like so like but like you got to want it at the same time.
Yeah. It's like that's what my godmom just stated in Leah Turner. I'm gonna say her name because y'all don't know who godmom is. Uh she said, to grow, you gotta move forward, and success is the mission. I think, but that also comes with the fact that if I want success, I gotta risk failure.
Mm.
And a lot, like this goes back, like I said, everything I say could go back to what I said at the beginning. People are afraid of failure more than they are happy with success. I mean, going for success. We
Well, I
focus
think
on the.
go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you
I was
off.
gonna
Go
say
ahead.
we just like to hyper focus on negative things.
Well, I think in the church, and I can't even say in the church, in life, if the failure were only ever going to be just failure,
Mm-hmm.
but like we could live with that. But like because failure can also have financial connotations,
Mm-hmm.
it can have all of these other dominoes. Like if it's just okay, I failed and I can move on, that's one
Yeah.
thing. But like we put so much pressure on each dollar and
Everything has to be
each.
successful.
Yeah. And so like how like obviously we can't get into this now, but like
Yeah.
how do we transition that into say like sometimes failure is good. Sometimes failure, you know, moves you in the direction you're actually trying to go. But like I don't know how we in the church at least start to
Gotta be
shift
willing. Gotta
that
be willing to
mindset.
fail. You
Yeah.
gotta be willing to fail. You will only move forward when you are willing to lose. If you're so focused on only winning, you'll never move because you're like, well, if I fail, I can't. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to take the L at some point. I mean, some of the greatest inventions in the world happened because someone failed 1,000 times first.
And this is the interesting part, and we got to go. The interesting thing about all of it, no matter if you are afraid to fail or you're afraid to succeed, the ultimate thing is you still got a choice. Either you're going to move ahead or you're going to stand still. But if you move ahead, you got a better chance at living than you do at standing stagnant and dying. And so
Word.
and so this is the season for all of us to just think about it. What are we going to do? We're going to continue to deify what's been, or are we going to actually move? Because if we actually move, I promise you guys are going to do some things, and we won't be able to miss out. So God bless y'all. I think this has been good. I wish more people would have been on to have this conversation, because God knows some of y'all got some grievances from your childhood that I look we didn't got it out. We got it out for you and all that stuff. And of course, if you're watching the replay, if you're watching the replay by this time, you should have got them out in the chat too, because we see them anyway. And plus, if we have to have another come to Jesus moment, that's why we got the podcast, because we do what we do. So next week we back in the building. I know we back in the building and everything. So just let's make it happen.
Mitchell buying wings.
Thanks.
No, you buying wings.
Who?
Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
I just paid to get my car fixed, man. What you want from me? What you want from me?
You right.
The Tyrese cry. What more do you want? Oh my God.
Right,
we ain't got no sense. So we'll see y'all next week online and in person. God bless y'all. And we'll see y'all soon. May the Lord bless and keep is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. Peace.